Okay, I'm going to do some extra review problems that were not in your review packet, just a few more in case you need some extra practice. And first, I have this like shape here, and it's made of a semicircle and a right triangle. And we're going to look at two things that you could be asked to do. You could be asked to find the perimeter of this shape, or you also could be asked to find the area of this shape. So first, let's take a look at the perimeter. For the perimeter, we need to get the sum of all of the sides. And we have a couple of different pieces. First, I have the semicircle right here. That's part of my perimeter. And we know that the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. And so the full circumference of this circle would be 2 times pi times my radius of 6, which gives me 12 pi. However, I don't have the full circle, so I am going to cut it in half to get 6 pi, is the length of that orange arc. Next, I have to get the two sides of my triangle that are part of my perimeter. I'm going to need to get this piece, which I don't know currently, and I also need to get this piece. To get those pieces, I am going to have to take advantage of the fact that I've got a right triangle I'm working with, and I have to use some trigonometry. The approach you take here could vary. Some of you like law of sines and are going to use that. Others might stick to SOHCAHTOA. In either case, we should get the same numbers. So first I'm going to find x. I like SOHCAHTOA, so I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA and write the equation that tangent of 35 is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, which is 12, which tells me that x is 12 tan 35. Now to get y, I'm going to put y on my other missing piece. We could do the Pythagorean theorem or law of sines or SOHCAHTOA again, and I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA again and say that the cosine of 35 is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And now to solve this, I get that y equals 12 over cosine of 35. So the perimeter of my shape, I'm going to add those three numbers. My 6 pi plus 12 tan 35 plus 12 over cosine 35, and enter the whole thing into the calculator. And let's say this question says nearest tenth. The directions would have to tell you how to round, but if it said nearest tenth, we would have 41.9 as our perimeter for that shape. Now let's look at the area. To get the area, we have two main shapes. We have a semicircle and we have a right triangle. And we can reuse some of our perimeter stuff, which will save a little bit of time. So first, I'm going to get the area of that semicircle. The area of a circle is pi r squared. My radius is 6. So my area of the full circle is 36 pi, which makes the area of my semicircle 18 pi. Next, I need to do the right triangle, and we have options here. I already have the length of x, so I can use 1/2 base times height. If you didn't, you could be using 1/2 base times height. You could be using 1/2 AB sine C. You really have a few choices on how to get that area. I'm going to go ahead and say that area is 1/2 base times height. And in my case, my base is 12 tan 35. And my height is 12. And so that area ends up being 72 tan 35. I don't usually write the decimals until the very end. So to get the area of the full figure, I have to add 18 pi plus 72 tan 35, and we'll go to the nearest tenth again. This is one of those weird ones to round. 106.96 actually rounds to 107.0 as my area to the nearest tenth. So we could have to get area or perimeter for that. Okay, next question we're going to take a look at. This would maybe be a word problem where we have someone making a machine part, or who the heck knows what they're making. And it would of course have to have some units given. And let's say that this is a quarter circle with a rectangle cut out. And my rectangle might measure 3 by, I'm not sure, what do we want to make this rectangle? 3 by 7, sure. And the quarter circle with a radius of 10, why not? Just making up some numbers here. And if we have to get the area of that shape, so to get the area of that shape, it's going to be the quarter circle minus the rectangle. So first I have to get the area of the quarter circle. So my quarter circle is going to be 1/4 of pi r squared. The radius of my circle is 10. So we have 1/4 times pi times 100. So 25 pi is my quarter circle. And then the rectangle is just 3 times 7. So the area of this part, the shaded figure, whatever the heck it is that we're dealing with, is the quarter circle minus the rectangle. And if a question says in terms of pi, that's how we would leave it. If it said to round it, we would have to then type that into our calculator and round it however they say. So if it asked for rounding, I'm going to write the full decimal. And then let's say it said nearest hundredth. We would have an answer that looks something like that. Things to be careful of, make sure that you don't forget to do the quarter or the quarter circle. That's a mistake that I could see happening. Other things to look out for on a question like this is to make sure that you don't have units mixed together. So always watch for units, because I could ask you this same question but add like a little layer of evil by giving you the same quarter circle but telling you that its radius is 1 foot, and then have this measure like 3 inches by 8 inches. And so then we would have to kind of add units into this a little bit before solving it. So watch out for those types of things. All right, this next question. First, I'm going to modify it. All right, let's say I have this question and we have a room or something that has these dimensions. It's a rectangle, and then we have that little triangular piece, and the dimensions are 12 feet by 30 feet, and then we have an 18-foot piece right here. And let's say I want to carpet it, and that I know that 1 yard of carpet costs $3, and I want to know how much it costs to carpet this entire room. And let's say that we have to buy full yards of carpet. We have to get square yards. Actually, I don't like yards. I'm going to say that, bad example, carpet's a little bit, actually, it's a little bit weird how carpet works. So we're going to say that we are tiling this room, and that 1 box of tiles covers 12 square yards. And that one box of tiles costs $40. I'm making numbers up completely here. They're pretty nice tiles. So we want to know how much it's going to cost to tile this entire room. So the first thing we notice is that I gave the dimensions of the room in feet, and that the box of tiles is in yards. And so that's a problem for us. We could convert at the end, but I would recommend always converting at the beginning. So if this is 12 feet, we know that 1 foot is equal to 3 feet, so I get from making examples up on the fly, is equal to 1 yard. And so if this is 12 feet, this is 4 yards. And if this is 30 feet, this is 10 yards. And you can use the conversions on your reference table to get the 3 feet is 1 yard. 18 feet is going to be 6 yards. All right, now we have to tackle the area. We have to figure out what the heck the shape is. Well, the shape, the way I'm looking at it, is a rectangle plus a right triangle. So first, we have to get the area of the rectangle. The area of the rectangle is pretty easy. It's 40 square yards. Next, I have to get the area of this triangle. And to get the area of the triangle, we have 2 choices. We could use trig to get this and this, and try to use 1/2 base times height. That works. It'll absolutely work for you. Or we also have our formula 1/2 AB sine C, which needs 2 sides in the included angle. I'm going to use that, which means I need to find x. Some of you like law of sines, some of you like SOHCAHTOA. Both options are going to work for you. It doesn't matter which you choose. I, of course, love SOHCAHTOA, so I notice that this is a cosine question, and that the cosine of 37 is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So that bottom side is 6 cosine 37. Now to get the area of that triangle, it's 1/2 AB sine of C. So it's 1/2 times 6 cosine 37 times the sine of angle C, which is 37. And that gives us our area. We could clean it up, or we could type the whole thing into the calculator. That's a personal preference. Some of you might want to write 18 cosine 37 sine 37. We don't really need to see that piece. It's totally up to you on whether or not you want to include that. Just be careful when you type it into your calculator. Then we get that the area there is this. So now when we want the area of this full figure, we need to add some stuff up. So we have 40 square yards in the main part of the room, plus our 8.6. So there's my area in square yards. And I have that a box of tiles covers 12 square yards. So we're going to divide this by 12, and we calculate that we need 3 point, I don't have the right number there. I had the wrong number on my calculator. 4.054279605 box of tiles, which is a very unfortunate number because 4 boxes of tiles isn't going to be enough, and we are going to have to, unfortunately, buy that 5th box of tiles, which in real life we probably wouldn't. We would probably try to make something work, but we would need 5 boxes of tiles, and we would be planning to spend $200 on those tiles. So watch your units. Please convert in the beginning. If you don't convert in the beginning, you cannot divide by 3. If you convert at the end, you're going to have to use the conversion that 9 feet squared is equal to 1 yard squared. So you would have to take the area in feet and divide it by 9 to get the area in yards. And if you don't, it's gonna throw your answer off, and you're gonna learn that you're gonna calculate that you have to buy a lot more tiles than you really do.